All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a concept that is remarkably brief, but man, is it profoundly impactful. We're talking about an idea that completely strips away all those comfortable little illusions we build around our goals. Think about it. We spend so much of our lives obsessing over logistics, right? We talk about the timing being off, or not having the right resources, or waiting for the perfect moment. But the source material we're looking at today, it cuts right through all of that noise. It introduces us to this fascinating framework called the singular barrier of will. And as we go through this, I really want you to brace yourself a bit, because this concept does not let you make excuses. It is a brutal, but honestly refreshing, reality check about how we actually approach the things we claim we want to achieve.
So notice the intense singular focus here. If you want to do it, that one tiny word, it, carries a massive amount of psychological weight. This premise demands that we start with a highly specific, totally isolated target. I want you to think about that one major goal right now, that one task, or maybe that massive life change you've been putting off forever. You know, the it that you're constantly telling people you're going to do someday. This establishes our baseline right out of the gate. We are looking at a state of genuine desire, the presence of a true, undeniable want. So keep your specific it in the back of your mind as we trace the logic here.
What is going to stop you from doing it? Seriously, just let that hang in the air for a second. If you genuinely want to do that thing you just pictured, what is actually truly going to stop you from taking action? Asking this builds this incredible tension, doesn't it? Because our brains immediately want to start listing off our usual, comfortable excuses. Usually we respond to a question like this with a whole catalog of perfectly reasonable-sounding roadblocks. We say, well, I don't have enough money saved up, or there literally aren't enough hours in the day, or the economy is just too weird right now. But this framework, it doesn't entertain a single one of those external factors. It has a radically different answer.
And here it is. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That is the exact unyielding answer this concept provides. An absolute void of obstacles. It makes this incredibly radical assertion that true will is basically an unstoppable force. Notice it doesn't promise that very few things will stop you. It doesn't say, well, you'll face challenges but eventually overcome them. No, it argues that nothing will stop you. If you genuinely want it, the text argues that all those external factors we just stressed over aren't actually barriers at all. They're just the landscape. True will simply bulldozes right through them, meaning the ultimate obstacle count is exactly 0.
Now let's look at the stark dichotomy this creates. On one hand, we have that unstoppable force of true want that we just talked about. But then the script completely flips if you don't want to do it. This perfectly contrasts the incredible momentum of desire with the paralyzing, sticky friction of hesitation. And this is exactly where the concept gets remarkably insightful. It forces us to acknowledge that not wanting to do it isn't always some passive, lazy state. Actually, scratch that. It's very often disguised as, I want to do it, but... Let's see how the framework handles the second state of being, where that core, burning desire is just missing.
The exact same question comes back around. What is going to stop you from doing it? But this time, we are operating under completely different conditions. It's asking us to really dig deep and consider what happens when that genuine will is absent. Think about something you feel obligated to do. You know, something you tell yourself you should do, but deep down in your gut, you really don't want to do. The question hasn't changed a bit, but because your internal state has shifted from want to don't want, your entire reality shifts along with it. And the contrast in the answer is just brilliant. Suddenly, boom, you are facing an absolute avalanche of obstacles. Everything, anything, a slight breeze, a random text message from a friend, a mildly bad mood, the weather. Suddenly, the undeniable urge to reorganize your entire sock drawer right this exact second becomes the most critical thing in the world. When you don't actually want to do it, a lack of desire manifests as this infinite crushing weight of excuses. It becomes a totally chaotic reality. Every microscopic inconvenience transforms into a 50-foot brick wall. Everything and anything will stop you simply because your brain is subconsciously hunting for a reason to be stopped. It beautifully captures this by just throwing the entire universe of possibilities at you as a valid excuse. Okay, let's slow down and take a breath for a second. When we synthesize these two extremes together, the literal nothing that stops you when you truly want it versus the everything and anything that trips you up when you don't, a massive realization emerges. The obstacle is never actually external. I mean it. The money, the time, the resources, they are completely neutral facts. They only become towering, insurmountable barriers or complete non-issues based entirely on your internal state. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway derived right from the source material. The singular barrier of will is exactly this. It's the concept that true desire dictates the existence, or complete absence, of obstacles. The only thing genuinely standing in your way, the singular barrier, is the will itself. It becomes undeniably clear that creating barriers is a total inside job. If the will is there, the path is perfectly clear, even if the terrain is utterly brutal. But if the will is absent, the path is totally blocked, even if it's perfectly paved and well lit.
I really want you to use this as a mirror for a moment. Take a hard look at your own life, those long-standing goals you've been constantly talking about, and impartially categorize them into one of these two camps. If you constantly find that everything and anything is getting in your way, if the timing is just never quite right, or if you keep getting derailed by minor annoyances, you might actually be operating from a place of not truly wanting it. But if you find yourself just blowing right past hurdles and totally ignoring distractions, you are absolutely operating from that unstoppable place of true will.
Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to this one incredibly illuminating question that we have to ask ourselves. Based on the existence, or the complete absence, of the barriers you are currently facing, do you actually want to do it? I'm going to leave that core premise hanging right there for you to chew on. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and I really hope this helps you look at your own obstacles in a completely new light.